Welcome, fiends, to Handle with Scare, presented by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Our podcast here discusses horror movies and the focus that they emphasize, but, we've got 2 months chock full of 2022 releases that we will be diving into. Last week, we were wrapping up Spooktober with a costume stream as we were discussing Spirit Halloween, the movie. Had a really fun time. Last week, I even got to dress up for All Hallows Eve, for Halloween on Monday when I was doing like an all-day stream over on Streamlaunch, which was a ton of fun. We ended up watching Beetlejuice, of course. I donned makeup again for that. Then we did the new Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo animated movie that's on HBO Max. And then we did The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror for 6-7 hours. There was no way I was making it through 33 episodes for the Treehouse Halloween episodes for The Simpsons. But all in all, a really fun time. And looking forward to tonight because we have a continuation of, I'm not going to say a storied franchise, but one that has definitely been picking up steam here in recent years in VHS and the new installment of VHS 99. Now, of course, with me here tonight are both of my co-hosts who help break everything down. We have Holly, Hooch, and John. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, doing pretty good.
Good.
We're all in our respective, we're both in our respective homes because it was shitty out.
It's cold and rainy today.
So John's like, please, I'm going to stay home.
It's 70 degrees. Oh my God, all the California people are going to complain.
Pretty much.
Definitely. Yeah, it was like 60 degrees.
I got to wear pleather.
Yeah, when I went to Anaheim today, I was like, all right, let me see what the weather is like. And it's only a couple of degrees warmer here than it is back in Chicago. So it's just well, let me bring a couple of hoodies for my SoCal friends because I know they're going to be complaining, which is just part of the course for this time of year. That's just how it is. As soon as it dips below 80 degrees, the complaints start rolling in. So it's definitely for California, this is cooler weather. But, being from Chicago, this is still shorts weather. It's 78 degrees up. But yeah, I'm in Anaheim for a few days. Not at home, not in the traditional setup. So don't have my, Go XLR setup tonight. So I'm just set up here at the hotel, using hotel Wi-Fi, using my webcam. And, excited to talk about VHS because one of the segments I absolutely did not like, if only because it dove into two of my phobias. So yeah, that was not a fun watch, at least for me.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of what it is, but I guess we'll get there when it comes up.
Is it getting caught peeping at a woman changing in another building?
It's definitely not the Medusa segment. No, it's the Buried Alive one.
Oh, yeah. I feel like
meters down.
That's a pretty common one.
Yeah, definitely.
The Buried Alive part. It's two other facets of that segment.
Like getting bullied by a bunch of girls. I guess that one.
Yeah.
The mean girls.
They were so mean.
Yeah, it's really just not being able to be let into the sorority. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I guess we'll get there, but I don't want to jump ahead.
Let's jump right in though. We've been sort of
VHS
taking little bites out of it.
I gotta say I'm a fan of the series overall. I think I've mentioned before I like the found footage style horror, and this is of course the series is that. And I've always been a big fan of the series.
Yeah, and you know how much I like my little vignette movies. I just love little chunks of stories that kind of wrap up real quick, give you a nice little scare, you move on to the next. So I'm also a big fan of the series. We watched 94 together, T. That was a lot of fun. And 94 was really solid. And, not to start the bashing, not that there's going to be any real bashing, but we did like 94 a little better than 99 though, right? Sorry. But 99 what's that?
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, did you guys review 94 in a previous episode?
We didn't review it. We just watched it together, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we basically watched it after one of our podcast nights, basically.
We reviewed it off camera.
Yeah, yeah. 94. Remind me, what was the basic ones, the ideas for 94 again?
The big one that was really splashy was the zombie movie in Asia. So with like military, at the end there was some military people, right? Am I remembering that right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
It was in a laboratory or some sort of like, it was really good.
Yeah, it was kind of like a mad scientist Doom segment.
Mm-hmm.
You also had the Ratma segment with the people who were living underneath the sewers,
Yeah.
who were all worshiping this rat man, and then of course he finds a new host and one of the newscasters. So that's like their way of like, getting the word out there.
Which there is also a rat man lives in the sewers urban myth that goes along with the Grand Theft Auto video game series.
Really?
Where there is apparently a rat man who, if you go to the sewers at the right time in the right place, there's supposedly a rat man down there.
That's really neat.
Well, there's actually also a rat man in VHS 99, at least, when they're doing. I'm not even going to call it a wraparound story in this because there's actually like no story there, unlike some of the other VHS movies. It was just kind of there to begin with, but we do kind of see like one of the figures as Ratma in this one, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, just like as a whole, like seeing like the little toy soldiers didn't really add a whole lot to the movie because it didn't really bring too much. It just felt like it was kind of there for a little bit of comedic relief, but it wasn't really hitting like any high notes throughout.
You say that, but I really enjoyed the Army Men. I thought it was like adorable and funny. And I know you were saying that's its only purpose, and it's true. But I wasn't a huge fan of the first segment, which was the teenage rock group that goes underground and summons another dead rock group. It was okay though. I didn't hate it, but after a while I was like, I'm not gonna lie, these Army Men are like the highlight of my fucking night. I really dug the stop motion with him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Unfortunately, it didn't really add anything.
True.
To the it kind of wasn't its own story, really.
Didn't it segue into the Medusa storyline? That was like the Kid Brothers like thing was that, and then it went into the. I mean, again, it didn't go.
Oh, was it?
I think so, right?
Was that maybe?
I was drinking.
Oh, did they connect it to one of the characters was making it?
Yeah,
was that what was
the kid that ends up going over to Medusa's house? I think that was his project, and then it turned into him working on that, and then his brothers. Stop doing that nerdy shit, and then like, come look at some tits. So, yeah. If I remember correctly, I'm paraphrasing. So yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
I mean, I liked it on the level of just like it's like I used to kind of do stuff like that with my friends when we were young and had one person we knew had a VHS video camera, and we would do stuff like that. And it's kind of a thing, like maybe you youngins don't. I mean, obviously people make stuff with video cameras today, but back then you made like I feel like weirder, stupider things because there was kind of nothing to kind of work off of. So people just did weird, stupid stuff like that. But I don't know. But I think that's one of those things where if you were kind of like, doing that thing in 94 or even earlier, early 90s, late 80s, they kind of, it was kind of nostalgic to see that. It was kind of fun. But yeah, it didn't really play out to anything by the end of the movie. It was just kind of like they had a monster attack.
Although I will say, I also haven't seen those Army Men in like decades. I can't remember the last time I even saw a grown person have a little Army Man.
Oh,
and melting them.
Like Toy Story.
Yeah.
And melting them and blowing them up and stuff like that.
It's
kind of a time-honored tradition. But Yeah, that first one. What was okay? So the first one again was
The teenagers that are in
the
bands,
band.
yeah.
So when we were watching,
Know like any of the title names for like the segments. But basically, the premise for the first one followed Bitch Cat. It was like this punk rock band who were doing like an underground, concert. A fire broke out and it basically got trampled to death by all of their fans. So then you have like this other band of teenagers who are using their camcorder to basically parody Jackass. They're
Oh
trying
yeah.
to like go down to like where this accident took place. So like play a set or whatever. And unfortunately, things don't really go to plan. They make light of the situation of what had happened to Bitch Cat. At this venue, and there's a scene with like sex dolls and like red Jello when they're just like, "Oh, you want to see how easy it is to like stop a bitch?" And then you just see like the Jello splattering like all over the place, and then before you know it, all of a sudden like over like the intercom you hear the "Get off my fucking stage!" basically from Bitch Cat, who are completely like undead at this point, which I really dug that portion of it because you knew something was going to happen at some point, just because these kids are making absolute light of like this event that happened at this place, and as soon as you see like one of the kids getting like basically like pulled up to the rafters was fantastic. But all in all, it was just one of those. It reminded me of just a much more like toned down pussy cake. Like when I saw the name Bitch Cat, I was like, these two had to have been torn together.
Yeah, definitely. I liked the way they did the zombies and the undead band was really good too. It reminded me, and kind of the way the undead were done in general in this movie reminded me a lot of Creepshow, the birthday cake. My cake. They kind of look like that style of zombie, which I really liked because it kind of has like a classic, almost like EC Comics kind of.
And then on top of that, to put the punk rock effects over the zombiness, that's always a lot of fun.
And we were commenting too because we watched the first half, and we were commenting on it was pretty accurate with the '90s look, everything, and the people and the way they dressed and everything. It was fairly accurate. There were only a few little things here and there where it was like, that's not quite 94.
Yeah,
but
John, you had that comment where that kid that had the hand tats, you were like, no, back in the day, you didn't have hand tats.
No, hand tattoos were not a thing in 94.
At least not a big thing,
Yeah, not a big thing. I mean, it existed, of course, but nowadays hand tattoos like that are pretty common, but back then it was like not a thing that like a suburban teenage kid would have by any stretch. But but it was just little details where like that. But it was really accurate though with the '90s nostalgia, and the music was so slightly like more modern, but not a big deal.
And they did a very MTV-ish or VH1-ish sort of recap of Bitch Hats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was nostalgic for MTV as well, definitely. It was a little professionally produced.
Played music.
Sorry, what was it?
Back when MTV played music.
Yeah, exactly. When it was a show about, or a TV station about music and bands and stuff. But it was very basic. That one is very basic story. There's almost kind of not a story, although I gotta say, as a fan of the EC Comics and Tales from the Crypt and that stuff, some of those stories were that basic, where just it's super simple. Just some obnoxious kids are doing something stupid.
Yeah, just enough to have it coming to them, right?
Mm-hmm. And then zombies come out of the ground and get revenge for their dumb
print
behavior.
it next.
Mm-hmm. So it was okay. I kind of like it on that level where it's almost like if you're not going to have a story, then kind of lean into the fact you don't have a story, and just go with it, which is kind of what they did. in
And
this
I think
one.
my attention span's getting smaller and smaller because I was like kind of losing my shit a little bit. I really wanted those zombies to come out, and then when they finally did, I was having fun. And then they tore the kids apart, and that was fun. But
Mhm.
all like I felt like they spent a lot of time like sort of playing up the '90s. Like that was a big
Mhm.
Mhm.
component, and it was neat. And then after a while, I just wanted to see some bodies.
Mhm. That was like almost like that was sort of like the 90s
Yeah,
theme for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then they kind of got
you're
into
like,
it
I
from
was there.
there.
I get it.
Totally.
Because like even
That-
their like the setup, like half of it from the camcorder perspective was basically just doing like the jackass
Mhm.
stunts,
Mhm.
and kind of like going into like the background of what actually happened. And
Mhm.
they're joking about like, oh, it smells like fire down here. So even after all of these years.
And that's a reference to something that I believe happened later than 1994, but there was that famous concert, I think it was Great White, where they played a small club show and they had what do they call it? Fireworks, but they call it something else, but where you have the fireworks going off on stage. And it was such a small club that it basically set the club on fire and they didn't have proper exits and a bunch of people died. And it was a whole big thing. But it happened kind of like in the early 2000s. But I'm pretty sure that's what they're kind of referencing with this.
Yeah. And I really appreciated the fact that you did have like the one teen who was who kind of knew what was going on. He didn't really want to disturb the dead. He had his way to like counteract them by bringing in a little bit of spice, which I'm glad they actually got around to that in the story itself, because you do see him like throw whatever spice it was at one of the zombies. But like the whole time, I'm just thinking, as soon as like the zombies hit, I was like, oh, Punk is not dead, just one undead in this case, which was fantastic.
Yeah, what was the spice thing? What?
I'm trying to remember like how they had it set up, because like there was another thing about like boots that he had mentioned,
Yeah.
but like the spice thing seemed to be like a bigger deal.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Maybe it was like the whole like salt, warding off evil.
Maybe it was
spirits
salt.
type deal.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I forget what the deal was with that, but
I know. I got distracted at the
It-
end. Did they make them join the band, or was it just the original band on stage? Because we had this joke going that they were going to make them join the band, and there was going to be a ska band because there's going to be like 9 people on stage.
yeah, no, it was a bitch
Totally.
band who was performing.
Plus, I obviously we can't share images. I wish I could share this image. I have to Google it right now. It just popped in my head. But there's these posters from the 80s and 90s that, because posters were a big deal back in the 80s and
Mhm.
90s, you'd have your posters on your walls. And there's a poster of a zombie like punk band. And it's kind of one of those popular ones that you would see around and it would be at stores. And this story definitely reminded me of that. I don't know if the person who made it had that in mind, but I wish I could share the image, but I'll send it in our Discord.
I was just reminded of the cover of Return of the Living Dead. That was kind of reminds me of zombies, zombie punks. Punks.
Definitely. The way the art is specifically too. More than like the zombies in this story looked like the art from that poster more than the actual zombies from that movie. But yeah, no, definitely. And then they got pulled up. Everyone got killed. Yeah, I imagine then you have both bands. It's like you could have a show with a
now you got a lineup
and liner. Now you just need a third band for a full show. They just keep bringing in. It's like a never-ending cycle where other bands keep showing up and then getting pulled in.
just like the scene.
Exactly. It's a scene. exactly.
All right, so outside of that, we also had the sorority girl.
So that was your favorite, okay?
Yeah. So basic setup for this, of course, we're dealing with sorority hazing in regards to two applicants trying to make it into what I don't even remember what the sorority house name was. But basically, they're like, okay, well, in order for you to join, you're going to have to spend the night buried in a coffin. And, it's okay, though, because, they got, like, a little, like, string to, like, ring a bell, like, above ground. So, like, as soon as you pussy out, like, just ring the bell and we'll come get you. Well, needless to say, that doesn't quite happen. The sorority girls are pulling a prank on the applicants, basically, like, putting her in the grave, or the coffin with, like, spiders. At one point it starts to rain, and like a cop shows up, and of course, like the setup is like, oh, don't worry, like we'll come back for her. Everything's gonna be fine. We need to like get the hell out of Dodge because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get expelled or anything like that. And sure enough, water starts to seep into the coffin. Now I'm very claustrophobic, and I do have to some extent like a fear of drowning phobia. So, like, this in particular, I was like, fuck this.
The water and the buried alive.
Yeah, like being, like, buried alive is, like, a fairly common, like, phobia. But for me, it's the tight space aspect of it. But as soon as, like, I saw the little bell above ground, I was like, of course, she's going to start reading this thing, and they're not going to be there. And sure enough, one thing kind of leads to the other. And that's exactly what ends up happening, because they just get the hell out of there as soon as
it did surprise me that they opted to, like, pour so much water, the movie makers, that is, pour so much water into the grave, because it wasn't just a little bit, it was, like, torrential. and I did feel like, it made me feel really uncomfortable, too.
Definitely. It's a bad one. Although I have to say though, the size of the coffin inside was much bigger than a regular coffin. Like the roof was a lot higher than normal. But I would definitely not do that if that was the hazing thing. I would just be like, nah. I'm not
just because
accidents.
The movie kind of was over the top, but. You never know. What if, they get shot up and then there's nobody there to take you out of the coffin? I don't know. I'm making up shit. But you know what I mean? Like, there's just too many things that can go wrong.
Definitely. And they actually covered it up. They actually buried it.
Well, there was a little window that couldn't let her know that, they weren't going to do that. Although I will say that the mean girls in this movie were, the bullying in this movie wasn't as intense as in Sissy, which we're reviewing next week. Right? But, shit.
Well, it'll be in 2 weeks, but we're doing a double recording because of the holidays.
But yeah, the bullying wasn't as intense as in Sissy, but it was all right. I mean, I was able to joke through it. Sissy actually gave me a little bit of anxiety because of the bullying. So, too many flashbacks.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I hope you guys like it. All right, but back to
Sissy,
VHS.
yeah.
Sorry. So, yes, the Mean Girls. Oh, and also you can't forget the box of spiders that they gave her. I knew it too, right? You guys figured it out too. There's no way it wouldn't be something bad like that. I knew it was going to be a bug.
I didn't.
Of course. What's that?
I didn't figure it out in advance, but
they're like, when you feel really, really bad, that's when you open this box. I thought it was going to be like something though. Caterpillars. Well, not centipedes. Caterpillars aren't scary. Something that crawls real fast and goes up your nose.
But there's also the lore of the girl, right? Who did it before died. That they said it was like a previous girl who did the test, but then she died.
I can't remember what the story was. Did she have a heart attack, or was it she was killed on purpose?
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember. Didn't she die? Was it that she just died doing the test?
Well, she died doing the test, but I think it might have been on purpose that she got killed. I can't remember the story.
Mm.
T, do you remember the lore?
Not really. No, I just remember that she strikes a deal with the last victim, so to speak,
Ah,
to make sure that everyone else kind of
that
gets
was a good
put in
ending. I like that
place.
ending. That was a nice little payback ending.
Which makes sense. I mean, if the previous girl died doing that, then she's obviously going to help the girl that's in the coffin. You know, she's going to be like, let's get revenge. But yeah, no, yeah, that was good. And then they just like ended up in there. It was just kind of like
Yeah.
jump cut to them in the coffin, and the girl is there with them.
What did you guys think of the monster? That was a pretty neat monster. I didn't mind it. Mhm.
The girl, like, kind of
Well, it wasn't just a
zombified.
girl zombified.
Hmm.
There was a big head. It kept breaking into the coffin. I don't know. I thought it was pretty neat.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that was a good
Not
one.
bad at all.
Basic as well, you know, not go ahead.
Oh, hold on, my Wi-Fi's being kind of iffy. I was just gonna say, like the episode as a whole kind of reminded me of Fear Factor.
Yeah.
In the sense of you had the buried alive,
And where they
aspect,
place the
the
camera.
spider aspect, but like in Fear Factor, as soon as you have that shot of them being buried alive, the spiders would just immediately get thrown in there.
Hmm.
Whenever first. First they'll throw in a little bit of water, then they'll throw in the creepy crawlies, and then all of a sudden, the whole coffin is filled up. This didn't really do that, where it was more of a gradual build up rather than okay, we're just gonna throw everything in here at once.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. The spiders were definitely CGI because you could never get real spiders to just like come flying out like that. They probably always suffocated in the box after a while. She opens it up and there's like a bunch of dead
And the
spiders
spider
in
right here
there.
would never let you hurt those spiders.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, there's definitely fear factor for sure. Uh, and of course, there's a long tradition of
Hmm.
buried alive in movies and stories. You know, Kill Bill, of course, and that movie with the guy who plays Deadpool. What's his name?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, he had that movie. I never watched it because I'm also like, I mean, obviously, being buried alive is a terrible thought. Like, it's bad. I wouldn't necessarily say I have a fear of it, but that being said, I didn't watch that Ryan Reynolds movie because I was just like, why do I want to watch a movie where the entire movie is somebody buried alive? That just sounds awful. Like, I can't. I wouldn't. I know I'm not going to enjoy that, so I'm not even going to watch it.
That's a really good point. I don't know if I want to watch 90
It's
minutes
very
of Ryan Reynolds losing his shit.
Totally. Apparently, it's a really good
Oh,
movie. It
I
got a
like
lot
that
of
guy.
good reviews.
I think he's.
But it's just like that's just not for me. But I gotta say, like, the size of the coffin is sort of an issue with that because, like, in Kill Bill, it's extremely claustrophobic because it's the top of the coffin is just like right above where she is. But in this movie, there's a good it's a good couple 2 or 3 feet tall coffin. You can fully lift her arms up almost in that thing. So maybe like a slightly less on the scale of what do you call it, claustrophobia on that one. Oh, I have a claustrophobia story though about kind of like being in a coffin,
Okay.
buried alive. So I don't really have claustrophobia, and especially when I was younger, I definitely didn't have claustrophobia. I used to like climb around in space, like if there was like a little tunnel or something, I would climb through it. That stuff didn't bother me at all. And then as an adult, I had to do one of those, what is it, MRI things where you go in the tube and they check. And the guy was like, asked me if I was claustrophobic before I went in. And I said, no, not really. It's fine. And then they put me on the tray and they put me into the thing, and it's right around you. It's inches above your face. and they slid me into the tube, and I was like, I might be a little claustrophobic now. I think I've maybe developed some claustrophobia in my time. And it was kind of rough. They put you in there for like a solid couple of minutes, which sounds like not a lot, but when you're in there and it's that thick, that tight space, it's not good. It's not a fun feeling. So yeah, no.
Were you concerned like if there was like an earthquake or something or what? I guess you can't get yourself out of there, can you?
No, not at all. It's so tight that you can't even lift your arms up.
I think you're giving T some nightmares.
You're just trying to have to like snail crawl, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of like inch, shoulder, inch out. Exactly. Like crawl out. Just like, fuck this, I'm getting out. But the guy made me, sorry, this is a tangent, obviously, but it's a little on topic. But no, the guy made me paranoid. This part of the tangent. He made me paranoid, though, because the magnets in those things are so powerful that they'll pull metal out of your body. And he said, do you have any, metal parts, like how you can have metal screws or things like that from injuries? And I was, 99.9% sure that I didn't. But he was so sort of like, are you sure? That I was sort of like, I think so. But it kind of made me paranoid that, like something was going to be ripped out of my body by the magnets.
I'm only laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Because I would be in the same place where I'm like, I don't think I have any nails in my body, but I'm not 100% sure.
I know, exactly. It's like, how can you be completely sure? Maybe
I sleep for like 8 hours a night. Something could have happened at that time.
Yeah. So I think we just lost T for a moment here. Do you see that? He said his Oh, okay, cool. Your video is just off for me, but if it's still recording, then it should be good to go.
Yeah,
cool.
So basically what happens if like the Wi-Fi signal is a little spotty, it will normally like kick the video momentarily. Is what it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
But like I haven't like fully dropped.
All right.
I was gonna say.
So
since we've all established that nobody wants to be buried alive, maybe we should form a pact on camera to ensure that whoever dies first and second, of course, we double, triple check to make sure we're really dead before we put them in the ground. I'm talking autopsy pictures.
Well, those bells, as you may know, those bells existed in real life back in the Victorian times. Yeah, because people really did used to be buried alive, which is insane.
Can you imagine that actually happening to people frequently? Oh,
because they used to test if you were dead.
Go ahead. Note, too, where you would attach the bell to someone's foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, this isn't an actual corpse.
Mm-hmm. All they did when they were testing if you were dead back then was just put a mirror under your nose.
Is that it?
Breathing. And then if you weren't, then they were like, "Yep, they're dead." They put them in a box. I don't know. I don't know if they had that technology back then, or at least back when it happened a lot.
They didn't check to see if you just got drier over time.
Exactly.
Now we better bury this guy, and soon.
And then they just think you're a vampire if you do probably ring the bell. They're like, he's a vampire.
Man, olden times sucked.
I know, seriously.
Hey, you didn't freeze too bad.
We went.
I'm talking about T's video. He didn't freeze with one eye open or his mouth open. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, you have an image?
Oh,
I just have a
image.
blank.
Yeah.
I just have a logo.
It go in and out just with the connection. But anyway, so we went from the corpse bells to Ozzy's Dungeon, which is essentially 1990s Nicktoons. If you are familiar with 90s Nickelodeon, there were always these team-based competitions for kids. And in the case of Ozzy's Dungeon, you would have these challenges, and the grand prize would basically be that they would grant you a wish. Now, the whole setup for this particular segment is the fact that the game is rigged, and no one has actually won the grand prize. People have come close, no one has actually finished the final challenge, which is essentially like finishing an obstacle course that is built on stage in like 60 minutes. You gotta retrieve the flag, you gotta like find other shit along the way, you gotta beat the timer. No one has actually made it. But in this segment, of course, you have two kids competing against one another when they're on like the final run, and the boy is just a little shit because he's like trying to pull the girl down, and freak accident.
That one was
takes
pretty
place.
gruesome, actually.
And yeah, and neither of them are able to finish the final challenge in time because of it. And of course, they do kind of like the running gag of constantly like rewinding to see like the bone protrude through the body for the little girl, and they watch it like 4 or 5 times before we are actually brought into like this other type of dungeon. So the story takes a really intriguing twist in regards to like the family. The parents of this girl who had her leg broken capture the game host, and they basically torture the guy, and they have like their own like horror dungeon that's like set up just like it was on set, just to a much higher degree of pain being inflicted on the contestant, which I thought was fantastic, the way that they set it up.
And then, of course, we have the really great ending where it turns out there is a wish granter, and it's this really creepy, half human, half sort of demon creature that is in a cave behind the studio, which is insane. So I really enjoyed this segment. I thought it was a lot more complex than the other ones. It had some really fun dynamics with the different characters and then even within the family. Like, for example, my favorite line was when the mom was like, "Get me the jug." And the son's like, what jug, Mom? She's like, "The one that's not water." Sorry, I thought that was hilarious.
And they had the whole 90s nostalgia again with the Nickelodeon show thing of, climbing through the slime and the whole slime thing. And it was also, I had to look, and it's also a Nickelodeon show called Legends of the Hidden Temple, which was also that one where they had the big idol and it had kind of a jungle theme. But essentially, it was the exact same thing where you were just kind of doing those
challenges,
doing physical challenges where you have to climb around and do stuff and climb through slime. And they even had the one where you have to find the flag that's in the big tub of slime, which is literally one of the ones that you did on those shows. But yeah, and then of course they kind of do the twist on it where they make the host do it, but kind of for real, with real danger and real violence and torture.
He had it coming.
Which of course, yeah, getting revenge for the daughter. Who I like the fact that she was like this regular kid, and then after she gets horribly injured, hilarious. She turns into a goth girl. She's like an angry goth girl. Which was really funny. Also, this is a weirdly timely one because I don't know if you guys follow what was happening, but their TwitchCon had their big event, and a streamer jumped off of. They were doing kind of those kind of challenges and on a foam pit, and one of the streamers for TwitchCon jumped off and broke her
I heard
back
about that.
Because
she miscarried too because of that, right?
Mm-hmm, because the foam pit.
That's rough.
I think so, yeah. Because the ball pit wasn't, properly set up, or the foam pit, I mean. So kind of timely in a way,
well,
getting horribly injured.
Just kind of reminds everybody how, like,
kind of
these things are not, I don't know, like they're not set up by full professionals, and And like there's a lot more danger involved than
Yes.
is just perceived by the naked eye. And then going back to the leg being like, torn off this kid, like even though it was so like goofy, honestly it actually did get me. I got a little grossed out because it kept showing over and over again. And then you had people throwing up and
Yeah, compound fractures always get me, where the bone is popping out or is making the skin bulge in a weird way, when somebody breaks a bone really badly. Yeah. I never heard about if there were any horrible injuries involved with those Nickelodeon shows, but I kind of imagine there were a few that probably got covered up.
At the very
and no one
least,
ever
broken
heard about
bones.
it.
I assure you, some kid dislocated their arm or broke their arm or a leg. Like, it just must have happened because they were just. Because, I mean, you trust the fact that there is a big company putting this event together, but at the end of the day, it's just unlicensed carnies walking around making death traps. Death traps. Thank you.
You would also hope that, whatever medical help was on hand would actually be able to put you onto, the gurney or the stretcher and not just, like, accidentally drop you.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that.
They did that in this movie, right? Where they drop her on the stretcher. Yeah. Which is like, that's one of those things. I don't know if you guys have seen, I'm sure you guys watch random internet videos, but you always see those videos where like I think there's like a famous one where like the soccer player gets injured and then the guys stretcher and they drop him on the stretcher like twice trying to bring him off the field. It's like, I'm sure they were kind of referencing that.
And then during the game, the original game, the dad and the brother, I guess, are holding back the mom who's really angry at seeing her daughter hurt. And I was like, why are they holding her back? Like, they should be helping her. They should be rushing the stage. But
yeah, definitely. And the host guy was good. The guy who played the host was
surprisingly in shape too.
You see,
I said surprisingly in shape because at the end they got him in his tidy whities, and I was like, all right.
He's kind of buff. But yeah, no, they always there's always these kind of standout actors in these VHS movies where there will, be people who stand out and it's like, I've never seen this person and they're probably like a, C tier actor. They're not even a that guy, quote unquote, like someone you've seen in the background, but they're legitimately good. And it's, and it's like, oh, this person could be a real, actor.
You're correct. Sure. And I was going to say, I'm going to need help remembering the end scene. So the guy the game show host promises them a real wish. And then that goes from being like still in the realm of reality into going into the surreal or fantasy, where they go back to the stage or the production studio. And somewhere in the back of this still erect game show set is a cave that leads to a lady on a bed, and there's some people there. Was that right? Or at least one dude there, and they ask for a wish, and then I can't remember what happens. I remember the end is that she wishes everybody's dead, but which is kind of fun ending. But there was a lady on the bed, and then the monster came out of her after she made her wish. What's that?
Yeah, so there were a couple of people in robes, in the cave, probably just keeping watch, make sure no one randomly stumbles upon this creature. And, the host is like, all right, kid, make it a good one. And then, the kid wishes that everyone dies. And then that's when, you see, the chest cavity of the chick lying down in a bed, open up. And you have, this, a Lovecraftian type creature coming out.
Oh, yeah, tentacles.
Everywhere. And then all of a sudden, people start bleeding all over the place and start dropping one by one.
Yeah, it was very The Thing, the creature that came out. It reminded me a lot of that. That's right. I forgot about that. There was all the tentacles and the creature came out. Which sort of almost, as you describe it, it almost kind of links up with the last story in a way, because the stomach portal kind of thing, which we'll get to that, but yeah, no, I forgot about that. It was very Thing that came out, and then granted her wish to basically kill everyone. Because it's true that kind of her parents, or at least her mom, was pretty unhinged on her. I mean, it's understandable in a way, but you can see how like she probably was tortured by her parents as much as by the people who put on the show. And so she just like, or was
I
it
think
just
it was
that
because she
an
was just
angry
very
goth
angry
that
at the world. She
wished-
didn't care that her parents were trying to get revenge. Big fucking whoop. Because in fact, even not even parents, it was just mom. Because dad and brother were kind of like, just trying to sort of not get run over by mom, I guess. And
Or was it that she pushed her into the
well,
show
maybe
in the
that's part of
first
it then.
place? And so she was mad at her because her mom kind of like made her go on the show and was kind of being like the stage
And
parent.
basically just like it wrote along because like the mom promised him like a second Dreamcast at the end of the day. So the guy never got his console. So
Another
unfortunately,
90s.
yeah,
Another
yeah, that's
90s reference, Sega Dreamcast.
yeah. But
I had a Sega Dreamcast.
for sure, idea behind like the gauntlet was really what hit home for me because like obviously they're trying to get revenge and like each part of the obstacle course is rigged against the host because you have like the little tubes that are filled with like metal basically like shrapnel essentially you kind of have like the poop chute you have the little excrements. The guy's basically just getting cut up during like one of the tube crawls, and his tiny whiteys aren't so white by the time he starts to get through it. And of course, at the end of it, like he thinks that he's actually made it in time, but he was like a second or so behind the timer. Unfortunately for him, but I really appreciated the fact that like it's very obvious like what they were trying to do. And like you even got like a small snippet of like the acid bath that was going to be like the grand prize, so to speak, or at least like the big punishment at the end of it. But that's when he's like, wait, like I know where it is. I can show you where it's at. But it's like the whole thought of like, all right, like all this time there's just been like this entity that can grant wishes in this lot, for this game show, which is so ludicrous. But
Yeah.
It really worked.
Yeah, totally. The idea that like this that the show is basically like a front. I mean, if you sort of go back and try to parse out what happened, basically they have this show that is a front for an actual supernatural being that grants wishes, and the idea is that kids go through the show and then someone wins and gets an actual wish from the being. Like, is that?
And they make
Except
sure
nobody ever actually wins. So yeah, so I'm not sure what. If you kind of go back and try to figure it out, it doesn't quite make sense.
I remember when that segment not the segment, but the ending to that story started. I thought I'd moved on to another story. I thought I wasn't with the same. I had to like backtrack. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know, and they even have armed guards with machine guns outside the studio and everything.
Related.
Yeah, no. Why? It's like, why would you have, why would you have that public TV show when really it seems like they were just kind of guarding this supernatural creature as a cult? I mean, it's a joke. Obviously, it's meant to just sort of be fun, but I guess it's sort of a joke that, what was actually happening behind these shows on Nickelodeon was that, on the Hidden Temple show was that there really was some
and if I remember correctly, as they're entering the cave, there's like little kids running around too, like fleeing the cave. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing there?
Yeah. It's weird. It's the writing. It's funny because it's just like, I don't know, something about they're able to pull it off with this movie and other VHS movies too. where they do this, where it's like the writing. You can like, I like this movie overall, but you can say the writing is, sort of not good, but it kind of doesn't matter because they're able to pull it off in other ways. Like, the stories are short enough and it's done in a fun enough way that it kind of doesn't matter, that it doesn't make
And the
sense.
fact that you
You're just
have
like,
different
whatever,
directors
it's
for every
cool.
segment, sort of, as soon as the story's over, you get something else, so you don't have to become too invested. Either,
Mhm.
I mean, that can be a bad thing if you're really enjoying the story, or it could be a good thing if you just want it to be over with.
Yeah, absolutely. None of these stories would stand on their own
Except for the last one,
as a
but we won't race
full
to the end.
hour and a half movie. Yeah, yeah. Except for I could have a full movie of the last one for sure. But yeah, yeah. But the first two, no way. The first one isn't even. I mean, you could have like sort of an '80s movie like that, but I swear, like every movie that is sort of like the first skit of this movie, where it's a full length one, is always like an hour and 15 minutes long because it's impossible to
It
make
just
it
occurred to me
together.
that since we're not seeing T, we don't know if he has any input.
I mean, you'd hear me.
You're just gonna have to jump in verbally since we can't see you.
Not really don't have that much to add with the last one, or the third one, I should say. The fourth one, though, definitely trends more to voyeurism with the use of the camcorders, because the boys are creeping on their hot neighbor, and the first time I watched this, I saw the statue in like the chick's front yard, and they're stone, but it was only heads. So I was like, right away, you knew something was up, and you basically could already draw
I totally
from
missed that.
point A to B. It was just a matter of like, okay, well, how are they actually going to get there? And of course, like the setup is okay, like we're gonna video record like the hot neighbor, and like even like initially, like they were trying to like spy on like some of the high school girls in a very obvious manner, which they caught on to immediately. But like they're all like fawning over like the neighbor, and of course the younger brothers, the nerdier one, the one who's like playing with the toys, and at one point he's like rollerblading out there, like doesn't really know what he's doing, or maybe he does and he's just faking it the whole time. But like he initiates contact with the neighbor because like she feels sorry for him. And he ends up like going inside the house, and then like all of the other teenage boys are like, "Oh my god, what a legend! Like, how the hell did you do that?" And then it just kind of like goes into the story of like helping her set up her MacBook or whatever the Macintosh computer was at the time, like the really heavy ones that had like the see-through back ends.
The iMac. I think that's what that was, the iMac. And they all came in colors. There was like the red one, the blue one. The blue one was the most popular, but then there was like a yellow one.
I wanted
Those
one
computers
so
were all
bad,
the rage
but I
back
never
then.
had the money.
That's one where, just to nerd out, the technology was not there yet to do what they were doing in this story, but that's fine because they did it. It's basically like American Pie, where they put the camera in the exchange student's room and spy on her. It also reminded me of VHS, the second one, I think, where they put the hidden camera in the guy's glasses, and it's like the college guys, and they go out to the bar, and they pick up that girl who turns out to be like a winged kind of demon who kills them all.
I will just note, is the only VHS segment to have a full-blown feature film.
What that one is? Wait, say again?
That one is Siren. Siren is the name of that one. one. It's the only one that has like a full blown picture.
Wait, so they made a full-length movie out of that story?
They did.
Oh, wow, crazy. Nice. But yeah, no, it reminded me of that one, where they kind of are doing the hidden camera thing. And they do, so the VHS movies also do this thing. The first one does it also, where you have the guys who are super awful, who film themselves
they film
groping
themselves
that girl.
pulling up girls' shirts, right? And
Which, yeah. Oh no! I was just going to say that it's almost a tradition in these movies where there's a story of just super awful young guys doing like really messed up stuff like that, which I know is like kind of the point because then something terrible happens to them, but it also gets a bit like over the top at times where it's just like, oh my god, they're so annoying.
The one from the previous VHS that we talked about where they're lifting girls' shirts, the really fucked up part, well, there's multiple fucked up parts, but what really made it like an attack was that there were several dudes and one or two of them would hold back the boyfriend while like the other two or three like got a shot of the boobs, which was like really rough, like that's...
Yeah, it's like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
But I realize that's kind of the point. And they get their comeuppance, but still, it's definitely bad enough where it's just like, these guys suck, And these kids kind of sucked as well. But yeah, no. So I gotta say though, I did predict this when they pointed out the statues. I did predict. I was like,
I didn't notice them until they pointed them out, though. I mean, you were saying that you got a good look at them earlier in the segment. I totally over my head. I totally missed them.
Yeah, and of course, like throughout the segment too, like you have like the delivery guy that they're also like fucking with at one point. But like he does like his whole like little jig after like. He's like talking to the girl, like delivering the iMac. And he's doing like his little victory dance because he thought it went over so smooth when really, no, it didn't. But it's just like, oh man, like, that went extremely well. And he was doing his post delivery celebration, and that's when the guys are like, we need to, install some spyware. So, let's get the nerd brother in here. Since, they're on a first name basis after, the whole rollerbladed incident. And then, all the teenage boys are like a nervous wreck, making sure like this kid is going to have enough time to actually install it. And then, the kid like feels bad about it. While this is all happening, but he just wants his brother's acceptance. He wants to hang out with his brother and his friends because they're older compared to him. He's just in his room.
And his brother said he was holding his Warhammer hostage.
Yeah. And,
sorry. Go ahead.
You have that moment where you have the picture of the webcam. And, they're just biding their time waiting for her to undress because it is a voyeur segment. And, they're just waiting for, like, that shower moment. And then, as soon as she, like, takes her top off, then you start to see her, like, remove her wig. And that's when you see, all of the snakes happen. But, like, I was laughing so hard during that scene when, like, she actually takes her top off. Because, like, back in the day, like in the 90s, that shit would take way too long to load on dial-up. And like with this, it was just so clear. I was like, that would not fucking happen.
It didn't occur to me, but you're 100% right.
Takes
I remember
there's no
that 3
way
hours for 2 minutes to load
at that time. For yeah, they would have been on dial-up. And then her snakes come out. I gotta say, I thought all of the creatures and effects were really good generally in this movie, but her snakes were very CGI looking. that was kind of the weakest effect, I think, of all of the creatures. And she didn't look terrible herself. It was just mostly the snakes felt kind of
And then
tacked
the
on.
turning
They
to
didn't
stone
feel
effect was
very
a little cheese. But that's okay.
Mhm.
You know, that's all right.
Mhm. Yeah, it's fine. But and then she turns them all to stone.
He
Even
should have
the
known
nerdy
better.
kid gets turned to stone. I gotta say, I mean, if she must have to move a lot if she's turning neighbors into stone, because
Well, she was new to
eventually
the
it
neighborhood.
could be a problem.
She'd only been there, what, like 4 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she had already claimed 2 victims.
So, say again, T?
I mean, she was fairly new, but she'd already claimed a few victims based off the
Mhm.
statues that were in the yard. There were at least 2 that we know of.
Yeah, exactly. The ones that were already turned to stone out there. Which, in even in the 90s, if you're turning people to stone in the neighborhood and they're going to go missing, it's not like back in the 1600s or something where people could go missing and
That and she wrecked the
immediately
house, so
be set.
yeah, that's gonna draw some attention for sure.
But still, again, it's like the EC kind of Tales from the Crypt thing where, the bad people get their comeuppance. It's like their little morality plays, People behave badly and treat other people badly, and then they get their supernatural comeuppance. So it does. I do like how it follows that tradition. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I think you were.
And of course, my Wi-Fi was dropping some frames, so I was just waiting for it to get caught up. But all in all, pretty fun segment overall. But really, the real winner in all of this is the final segment, VHS 99, which was from the Deadstream duo, which I'm pretty sure at this point we've all seen here within the last couple of
Did you watch it, John?
And this one is To Hell and Back, which basically opens a portal to hell. And we are introduced to the star of the show, Mabel, who is... What's up?
Oh, no, I think you were... that was
Might
just, I think...
Again.
Oh, yeah, no, it was just some lag. Go ahead.
I'm going to take over.
I don't know if you're talking to me or...
Oh, no, nothing. You were talking and then you just stopped abruptly because you thought somebody said something, but nobody said anything.
Yeah, you can continue.
No, well, the frames were lagging on my end, and the audio got choppy, so I couldn't tell.
Technical issues. But yeah, the last... the last one was really good. I didn't realize it was by the same Deadstream people. I did recognize the actress who plays Mabel, and I recognized her, but I couldn't think of what she was from, and then looked her up and realized she was on Deadstream as Chrissy, the main ghost girl, which she was awesome in that movie. She's really good. I mean, not to take away from her performance, but she was kind of basically being Gollum in this story.
I really enjoyed it. She went, 100% in. It was, just like Deadstream, it had like so many. It's got a really good sensibility to it, like they're really good at writing a fun yet effective horror story, and it's just I'm excited to follow this team, writing team or directing team, right? Winters, both of them. I don't know if they're siblings or whatever, but I mean, I was a big fan of Deadstream, and I really enjoyed Mabel, so it was the most fun.
Definitely. Yeah, the way they depicted hell was great. It was really well done. I mean, this is obviously a super low budget movie. And and each segment is super low budget, but they did a really good job with the creatures and the way, just kind of going out into the desert and filming, but still making it look kind of
No,
like
absolutely.
we
Like
were in
I
hell,
mean, I'm trying to think of all the different creatures that they encounter. I remember that at one point there's a troll with a tiny little axe or a tiny little weapon, and the guy makes
Yeah, yeah, that little, yeah. And
that
the
was
guy
pretty
grabs it to
hilarious.
use it.
And
Yeah, that thing is funny. And I like how he was like hesitant to pick
and then
it
there
up
was
because he
some
thought
weird
the whole thing was gonna get
like
him.
worm slash caterpillar, no, like a weird caterpillar creature that would have eaten him or something. And I don't know, like it
Mm.
was and then everything is pitch black except for their glaring light, which of course I'm sure we all have the same thought, like you're gonna get caught. That's how you get caught. You're drawing too much attention to yourself, but otherwise it's pitch black, so there's no other option.
Mm. And I like how the one guy had his party hat on the whole time.
Hoping my
He's
wife
gone
just
because of
keeps
his
on.
Wi-Fi.
But yeah,
And
like my
now we
favorite
have
part
to
of
be
that segment
dropped.
though is
I
when
think we should.
Mabel like
His
leans in
I
really
say we
close to her.
keep we
It's
keep
still
going forward, John. I
recording,
think that's the
apparently,
only way.
so
She's like,
The
hello,
only way to do it.
hey, like
He'll join us if he can.
he can jump
I'm
in.
really sorry. Okay.
So
Yeah.
then anytime you're like interacting like with one of these other demons, you just have like this looming fear of like, oh god, like, he's gonna
But yeah, so
eat in a life.
I love her.
she's definitely. I feel like, yeah, I feel like we're gonna see more of her because she, is really good in Deadstream and really good in this, and she's obviously not. I looked up her IMDb, and she hasn't,
Cool.
like broken through into bigger movies yet. But I could definitely see her kind
Yeah,
of
she's
blowing
a
up,
great
'cause she's
actress,
legitimately
and
good
not
in
to be
both of
shallow,
them.
but she's pretty, and she just kind of lights up a room. I think like
Mhm.
she's a real natural, and I really enjoyed watching her in both movies that we're talking about. And I was thinking about the ending where the guys make it back, which because I mean I and for it being such a short segment. They did pack in quite a bit of story. I mean, there's a journey, there's a fight, there's coming back through to the other side. Like there was quite a bit going on in that one. I was really impressed.
Yeah, this one had the
Sure, let's see
most, which is probably why it was the last one for the closer. It had the most story, yeah, and the most going on. Where it was a complete story where they were going to have this ritual where they are going to summon a demon. I guess is apparently what they were trying to do into this woman's body, basically, and those guys basically end up getting accidentally sucked through a portal into hell. But then they, come back around to where that demon is, where the ritual is sort of happening, where they're going to summon that demon, and they end up getting back to Earth, which I love that part. I don't know why it's so funny to me, that part where they appear back in the room, and the pregnant woman looks over and she has the one guy's voice, and she's like,
They
"We
switched
made it
bodies.
back. We
It was
made it
hilarious.
back."
They
But
made
it's
it
like
back
the
into other
guy's
people's
voice.
bodies, and such a great, funny twist. And again, like that same sense
Totally.
of comedy and horror that you saw in Deadstream, you see it in this one too. And yeah, it's a good time.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And it does have the complete story where they kind of go on a little adventure and then come back and they get killed. Did you watch the credits?
There was the credits.
The
Shit, what was
scene.
it?
Yeah. So they go back to they show the house again, where the ritual was happening for the last story. And so in the main story, when the guy gets killed, this is in the main story, right? Where he,
right?
writes Mabel in blood in the book. So then in the mid credits, it goes back to the house and they start doing the ritual again. And then this time, instead of trying to summon the creature they were trying to summon the first time, they start
And does she come
chanting
through?
Mabel and are trying to summon Mabel.
Ah.
And then it cuts away. But I think the assumption, the like implication is that they basically summoned her.
That is kind of
So it's almost kind of like a
although didn't
weird
it,
happy
somebody
ending
get
to the
attacked by
story.
an old
because-
dude with a shovel? Did that kill somebody? Yeah, because he's dying when he writes Mabel, right? Okay, gotcha.
It killed the two guys.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
And
yeah. The
somebody
two
else is trying
guys
to bring back
get
Mabel.
killed
All
in
right,
the
gotcha.
end when they
Right.
come back to Earth. But right, the cultist people, like the woman who we saw in the beginning, they start doing the ritual again, and they start chanting Mabel. But that's like, because she gets sort of killed, I guess, ish. I mean, probably not really, since they're in hell. She probably just like respawns somewhere, but she kind of gets killed, and then so it's almost like the little tacked on
That's
part is
neat.
like a happy ending where she's going
I
to
enjoy that.
getting summoned.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch it now.
Totally. Was she like, I don't like, I guess she was like a human, but she was sort of aspiring.
I didn't
to
get that
become a
entirely.
demon,
It just
maybe,
kind
or
of, who
something.
knows? I just kind of got the impression she was a demon, like, straightforward. But you might be right, because I mean, if they are in hell and there are being tortured souls down there, then
Yeah.
it would make sense.
Well, either that was the
Yes.
other thing I thought, was she was like a low level.
I like that one. A
demon,
low
and
level
she
demon
wanted
that
to
never gets
become a
summoned because
higher
nobody knows
level
their name
demon.
because they're not that splashy or they're just not well known at all. And so that's why she wanted her name in the book so badly, right?
Totally. And then she basically
That's nice. That's a good
she
ending. That's a
achieved
nice
her dreams.
That's right, kids.
So if you work hard enough, you can achieve your dreams. Even the
Well, what do you
demons.
think? Should we? I mean, that's the end of the movie. Really
And
great.
so,
I think T enjoyed it too. I'm really bummed that his Wi-Fi isn't working too well. He should have been back by now. So, what are you thinking? Should we shut it down? I think I remember his sign off.
yeah, totally.
There we go.
And we've been going for about an hour and 15. Hopefully, this last piece
Fingers
is being
crossed. Talking
recorded.
to
We're
each
not
other.
just like talking
Just having
to
a nice
the
conversation
ether.
of
But
friends.
really, we're just basically having
Just on
a
Wednesdays,
phone
I zoom
conversation
John.
at this point. Uh, Totally. But yeah, if you want to do the close, because that's basically it. That's the last story of the movie, and
Thumbs up.
overall it was good.
We all
Yeah, I
liked
think,
it.
as you
Some
said, T
segments
liked
more
it.
than
I think
others.
everyone, we all liked it.
We can also say that, so
Mhm.
next week we're going to be doing a double taping because, of course, we're coming up on Thanksgiving and we're taking it off. But we're doing Sissy first. Wait, no. Dark sunglasses first. Dario Argento. And then we're going to
I
be
think,
doing Sissy as
yeah,
well.
and then
And so those are great movies. I'm really excited to chat about them.
Mhm.
I liked them both to varying degrees, so that'll be a nice conversation to have. Let's see, what else does he plug? We're on YouTube, and let's scare. We're on wherever you find your podcasts. We're the Slashing Cast Network.
Mhm.
He does Twisted Tuesdays.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
I feel bad now. I feel I should have remembered all of this stuff a lot better.
Exactly.
All right, so then I guess we say
That's
goodbye.
pretty
Thank you,
much
everybody, for
everything.
hanging out with us today. Of course, we got John here. I'm Holly Hooch, and T, who isn't here today, but we'll catch him next time. All right, so long.
All right. I don't know if we can stop the recording.